Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Oh, goodness, folks. Hi, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're having a little bit of a tech issue going on, so I do apologize if you heard anything before I actually went live, but you know how technology is. But it's all good. It's all getting worked out. So I appreciate everyone's patience. I just want to make sure that we are live. Let me go into the chat. And folks, you know, I've been streaming live on the United Public Radio Network for at least 7-8 months now, and I'm very blessed to be doing so and being part of this network. And again, just to reiterate, we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please join us in the chat rooms, and you'll be able to connect with our wonderful guests today, as well as leaving comments and questions. So please do join in. And today I'm super excited because we're welcoming Michael Carter to discuss alien scriptures and extraterrestrials in the Bible, plus a lot of his life story. He is a contactee. So today we're diving into provocative and eye-opening conversations that challenge conventional theology and that invites us to reconsider scripture through an entirely new lens, which I really like that idea. Whether you're religious or not, it's a very interesting show. And our guest again is Reverend Michael J. S. Carter. He's an ordained minister, UFO experiencer, and the author of this groundbreaking book, Alien Scriptures, Extraterrestrials in the Bible. And here he explores the possibility that many ancient biblical encounters, traditionally seen as divine or miraculous, may indeed have been beings from beyond this world. Whether you're a person of faith, a seeker of truth, or simply curious, this interview might shift your spiritual paradigm. So with that said, we welcome Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Carol Ann. I've been looking forward to this. Thank you for that introduction, and thanks for having me. And also, thanks to Michelle.
Yes.
For making this happen.
Yes, absolutely. A big shout out to Michelle. She's dealing with fixing these little tech issues that we live with in this world today. So it happens. And
it happens. It's technology.
Right. And it always gets worked out. So blessings for that. But a big shout out to Michelle. And she's got a show right after mine. So make sure anybody that's listening right now, of course, they stick around. They love Michelle.
Yes.
But if somebody could pop in to one of the chats, I would very much appreciate it. Say hi. I think we were scheduled to go live at 10 after, and I know I popped in. No, it's 10 after now.
It's 10 after, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all good. I do want to get your ticker running. This way, if folks want to visit your website.
There it is, yeah.
There it is. So be sure to check out. It's okay if I call you Michael, right?
Yeah, that's what my mom named me. I've been called worse.
My son is Michael. My dad was Michael.
Yeah.
My brother was Michael. We have a ton of Michaels in the family.
It's a good name.
It's a good name. Wonderful name. So you have a very long bio, and rather than I think it would be far better served if I let you just jump in for a few minutes, talk about your life, what brought you to where we are today.
Yes.
Some of the most important things that you would like, and then we'll hop into the questions. But I'm going to give you the floor for a few minutes.
Okay, thank you. Well, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day, your busy day, and listening to me. My name is Reverend Michael Carter. I serve a Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in the Southeast. I wear many hats. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a minister. I'm a healer. I'm an experiencer. And I just try to uh, keep track of all that. It's hard sometimes. You get busy with life and you forget. I was raised in the Baptist tradition. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I moved to New York City. I was in the professional theater for almost 30 years. And then I decided to go into ministry. But I always wanted to do that. It was always on the back burner. I mean, I moved to New York thinking I was going to be Denzel Washington, and I wound up going to seminary and getting my master's degree and all of that good stuff. I served as a hospital chaplain as well, which I really enjoy that work. My church is a growing church. It is not a UFO church. I've had people stop by. You know, they've said, "Oh, we saw you on Ancient Aliens, or we saw you on the History Channel. We were in the area. We decided," and they were disappointed. But that's not what I'm there for. But it was a secret at the time. It's kind of like an open secret now. And so my interest is not in, and we'll delve into this a little more, I'm sure. I'm more intelligent minds than I can get into the tech aspect of the phenomenon, the national security aspects of the phenomenon. Those are very important. I'm wired differently. I look at the spiritual connections or transformations that can happen once you look one of these beings in the face. I do not think that all of them are friendly. Just like I don't think that all human beings are friendly. But they are here. I believe that they started our religions, consciously or unconsciously. And that's been my premise. I look at sacred scriptures, the Bible, those kinds of things. Very lastly, because I get a lot of people for counseling, non-extraterrestrial and for terrestrial matters. And people ask, can I still be a religious person and believe in the existence of a populated universe? And I say, of course you can. Of course you can. So I hope that gives you a little background, and we can kind of unpack stuff as we go along.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I thought we would get started talking about some of the experiences that you've had with extraterrestrials. I think you said since '89 they've impacted you greatly.
Yeah.
And had some experiences before then. Maybe you can kind of run through them.
Okay, I'll do that. The Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, said life is lived forward, but it's only understood backwards. So I'll go there. When I was younger, probably at 6, 7 years old, I noticed that, when I was in my room, I could see these little orbs. And they would just float around. Some of them they were like the colors of the chakras. Some of them were purple. Some of them were blue. They looked like little donuts, actually. And I started being able to see the depth perception of empty space and molecules and stuff. But I didn't know. I didn't have the words for that, and I didn't know. And I thought everybody did. And then I started waking up with blood on my pillow.
Ooh.
And I thought my ears were bleeding. I was like, "What?" It was actually nosebleeds. And so I thought, I don't know what I thought. I just thought that this was kind of natural. And then looking back as an adult, there was the possibility of implants but there were beings, So in 1989, I will kind of condense this. I went to Mexico on vacation, and on one of our days, my girlfriend at the time and we went to the Yucatan Peninsula, to Chichen Itza and Tulum, to see the pyramids there, to see the Mayan culture. Fascinating. And so now remember, no Star Trek. I was raised in the Baptist tradition. I was a good Baptist. I didn't believe in extraterrestrials. I knew the rules. And so when we came back to New York, because I was living in New York City, I went to a party. My girlfriend stayed home, She was tired. We got off at JFK. I wanted to show off. I had this nice bronze. My hair was like the whole bit. And so we went and had no beverages, no adult beverages, and talked and that kind of thing. And so I got back on the train at Times Square, the bus, got home. And I don't know whether I had to go to the bathroom. I don't know. I don't know the time. But I know that I felt a presence in the room. And when I got up, there was a being who looked like this at the foot of my bed. Now, this is an artist rendition. I asked for them to put the robe on, but they actually had on a jumpsuit that looked like that.
Gotcha.
Like Reynolds wrap. And I was thought it was heart attack time. My girlfriend did not wake up. And this being, and around this being was a white and light, and then a big blue light, maybe 4 feet tall, if that, and it just stared at me. And I stared at it, and my heart was going to come out of my chest. So what I did was I pulled the covers up and got in the fetal position. And then I heard this, the temperature changed in the room. I felt like I was outside. I heard the wind. I felt the wind. Whoosh. Finally, I grew a pair and I pulled the covers down.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that was, and nobody was there.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And this was in Manhattan at the Excelsior Hotel on West 81st Street. I used to live in Manhattan. And so it wasn't like Betty and Barney Hill. I'm out in the woods. I'm driving on a lonely road. I woke my partner up and I told her what happened. And she's a deeply spiritual woman. And she didn't say, what are you, some kind of nut? She just said, okay, calm down. And so after that, every full and new moon, so we're talking twice a month, I started getting visitations, mostly from these people that I showed you. And they weren't gray. They were off-white, a chalk color. But they had that little oblong head thing. And so they would paralyze me. I felt electricity running through my body. I felt it intensely around my throat. But my whole body, sometimes they would show me pictures in my head. And this went on and on and on. And eventually I wound up going to a support group. I wound up going to therapy, but for some other issues. But of course, I brought this up. I got hypnotized by the late Dr. Gene Mundy and the late Bud Hopkins. And so that kind of helped me hold on to my sanity.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and I had a healing on July 4th, 2013. I had a blood clot that was healed by a person who looked something like this.
Wow.
On July 4th, 2013 at 9:50 a.m., 9:50 p.m. my time, because I don't know if I think you do know Preston Dennett.
Oh, very well.
And I called Preston, but he wasn't home. And he doesn't live in California anymore. He lives over near me now.
Right.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And actually he put this story in his second book on healings, but I had to call somebody. So things started happening. Ancient Aliens had called me when the book came out. I started doing all these podcasts and conferences, and I've met a praying mantis person. I've met reptilians, and I'm giving you the truncated version, and we can unpack it later if you want. And this is how I got into healing. Because one day I was in Boston at an anti-racism conference, and I was staying in a room alone, and one of the gray people came, and I was paralyzed, and they showed me a picture in my mind's eye. They showed me some past life stuff too at another time, but there was a picture in my mind's eye of, and it was really weird, Carol Ann. It was like icons that we have now, but I didn't know. And there was an icon of a gray person pointing
Mm-hmm.
like this way, like don't look at me, look at what. I asked him, and there was a pair of hands like this with a lightning bolt through it.
Mm.
And I got the message that hands-on healing, prayer. Now it's interesting. They never told me who to pray to, but it was there. As a matter of fact, I took that symbol, and on my business card, there's a pair of praying hands with the lightning bolt through it. It was a red lightning bolt, which I got from them.
That's remarkable. So how
Well,
did this?
yeah. It wasn't all fun and games. I mean, I still have PTSD from it. I mean, I'm loving it in the sense of, it's changed my life. But like when I'm home alone, it's hard. Like my wife just got back from New York. She was gone a week. And it's hard for me to be here because, I close all the blinds and all the windows, and that's not going to stop them. And it's just that the suddenness of when they pop up. But anyway, you were going to ask me something.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about, I get the PTSD thing. I mean, I could
Oh,
totally understand that. The blood clot healing.
yeah.
Yeah, tell us about that. That seems really intriguing.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there's an Ancient Aliens episode coming up when they interview me about this. It was a bad year for me in 2013. It's like a country western song or a blues song. I lost my job as a chaplain. I was getting divorced, and my dad had died. And I had a blood clot. I didn't know it was a blood clot. I had never had a blood clot. I just thought my leg is swollen. Maybe I pulled a muscle, but it kept getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. My ex, who I'm still friends with, I told her about it. She said, Michael, you've been in pain for 3 days. You need to get this taken care of. So I go to a doctor. I go to my primary. He says, did you drive here by yourself? I said, yeah. He said, can you drive? I said, yes. He said, you need to go to the hospital now because if that bursts, I said, is it going to hurt? He said, you won't even know. He said, I said, oh, it's going to ruin my day. It was that my leg was swollen. So I go there and they're giving me something called Anexaparin. I'm injecting myself to try to shrink this thing, something Wayfarin, which is Coumadin.
Yeah, blood
And
thinner.
so on July 4th, 2013, and I just want to set this up for you because this is crucial to the story. I'm sorry, July 4th, 2013. I have a lot of friends who were in the Vietnam War. I did not serve. I was a little young. When I got out of high school in 75, it was over. But I have a lot of friends who were in the Vietnam War. And some of them talk about their experiences, some of them don't, but they seem to trust me. And they were telling me, some of them would tell me about, artillery going in, artillery going on patrols, things like that. On July 4th, 2013, there was such a thunderstorm here that they canceled the fireworks, which I don't like anyway. But my ex liked them, my second ex liked them, and our daughter liked them. So I'd be a good dad and I would go, but I hated them. So they canceled them. Yay, I'm happy. I'm in my room, and it was a terrible thunderstorm. And I was thinking about my friends in Vietnam, because they would say during this you would try to get some sleep in your foxhole. It was horrific. And I said, boy, that sounds like artillery to me. I'm in the bed, not asleep. And I think there's somebody in my room. It's weird because I can't explain it, but the air gets thicker and it gets really quiet. That's the best way. That's the best way I can explain it. And I turn around, and this guy, he's almost as tall as my ceiling. Now, he has a hoodie on. Not a hoodie, a cowl, like a monk would wear, with a rope belt. And I remember going, and he put his hand out, his right hand, left, his hand, and an apple green light comes out, and it hits me in my stomach. I watch it hit me in my stomach, but I felt no pain. And then, and he was built. I mean, this brother was ripped. You could see his muscles through the robe.
Wow.
His hair was a little page boyish, but he, if you saw him on the street because he was so tall, you'd probably say, But if you weren't sensitive to energies, you probably would just walk right by this brother. And then his molecules, like Star Trek, they just dispersed. And I was like, oh my God. And whenever they come, I got so much energy, I don't go to sleep for like maybe 3 or 4 days. I'm just wired. And so I looked down at my leg, because this blood clot was from my ankle to the groin area, and it's gone. My leg is normal. It almost looks like they rearranged the veins or something. I call Preston. I have a friend named Shepard, I'm sorry. I call Preston, and so it's 10 minutes to 10 my time, and he was in California, so it's 10 minutes to 7 his time. And when he didn't pick up, I figure he's out. It's early. And I called, and I showed my ex and my daughter, and they both did the same thing. It was like it was choreographed. They was like, they healed you. And the crazy part was when I went to the doctor, and I wasn't going to tell them what I just told you. They'd have medicated me and locked me up. And but I lied, and they kept saying, what did you do? And I said, maybe the medicine's working. Well, not that quickly. What did you do? And I said, no, it's working. They said, you were just here a week ago, 10 days ago, because they stick that thing in your finger and check the blood levels or whatever they do. And I said, and after a while, I just said, look, I believe in science. You believe in science. Yeah. But I can't tell you what happened. You don't know what happened, and I don't know what happened. But can you be happy for me? I'm healed. It's gone. Aren't you happy? And that put them back a little bit. Yeah. And then it was, oh, Mr. Carter, of course we're happy. We just don't understand. I said, well, and so that was that.
That's an incredible story. I mean, it sounds like they definitely healed you. Who did you do research to see what race of ET these people?
No, I just thought he was Nordic looking, so I just said he was Nordic, because he was more humanoid. He didn't look like a bug like my friend here, he didn't look like my reptilian people, and he definitely didn't look like the gray, even though they are humanoid in a way. This person was more, he looked odd enough, but he looked more human. In that sense. And I just say thank you every day. I don't forget it. Because I had my stepbrother, my half-brother had a blood clot. Now, he survived. And I didn't know this until years later, and it burst. But he survived. It didn't go up in his brain or in his heart.
Yeah, it could go to your lungs.
And you're done.
All over. Yeah, that's a miraculous story.
Yep, and Preston wrote about it.
Oh yeah, I read that book. I read that. I've spoken to him about that topic about extraterrestrial healings, and they do take place. Now, how long ago?
They do. That was 2013. I've had clients come to my house for the energy work. I call it Reiki, but I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
Because I took the Reiki classes, but if someone said to me, that's not Reiki that you do, that's something else. But they weren't angry. They were just saying, you should stop calling it Reiki. But I call it what it is because I don't want to freak people out, but it helps them.
Oh, well, as long as
Um,
it helps.
yeah, it helps. And so, I've had things happen that I can't explain. I've had people's cancers go away. I've had tumors shrink. Um, I've had some things that I can't account for, but I'm very clear that it's not me.
Mm,
Uh, I'm just, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I am a minister, so I could do laying on of hands, that kind
absolutely.
of thing. But I don't diagnose, and but that's been a part of my ministry. And after that, after he visited me or she in Boston, and told me to do the prayer thing with that, I just salute and yes, sir, yes, ma'am, let's get it done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're all capable of healing.
Hmm.
A lot, everyone on the planet has that ability. And I
Yeah.
think it's just whether or not you believe in it, that you do have these abilities and you learn how to master them. So,
Yeah, and there's different ways. Some people can do it with their hands. Some people do psychic healing. Some
right,
people do, it's different ways. I mean, that's a large rubric. So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I want to ask you about the book because, I was raised Catholic and still am. And I've read my share of the Bible. And I've heard a lot of stories about and seen on Ancient Aliens, of course, the biblical connection between extraterrestrials and the Bible. So what originally inspired you to write this book? Like, was it your personal experiences that
yeah,
shaped like
yeah. It was, and it's a great question. And obviously, I've written other books too, but this was the one that people kind of know me for. Um, I am one of those people who believe that this was a positive experience for me. Even though the trauma, the fright, and I was sick and tired of hearing these beings being described as demonic and
right?
evil, and so I was a little scared. My first publisher was a little Barbara DeBolt. She was in Arizona, Blue Star Publications, and she said, "You've got to come out of the closet and tell these people. You've got to grow a pair and do this." Those are my words, not hers. And it took me a while, but that's why I did it. To say, we do this with people, we stereotype human beings, and now we're doing it with them. And that's not to say that all of these beings want to sing Imagine or Kumbaya with you or We Shall Overcome. No. You got people, all people don't want to do that. But
Right.
some of these beings, some of these experiences are transformative in a positive way. Now, again, as we said at the top of the show, I'm not interested in the national security aspect of it or the nuts and bolts, propulsion systems, back engineering. Greater minds than mine can do that. But I am interested in what I think is crucial is the consciousness transformation, um, of the spiritual transformation. To me, that's what this is all about. And so, being a minister, naturally, I would gravitate to that.
Yeah, yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
I mean, you can see a lot of the correlations. Like you show some imagery too of the Madonna, and you see this little craft up in the sky that was
Yeah,
painted, hundreds of years ago,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
15th century, 16th century. How did they know about this stuff?
exactly.
And so, and to me, the Bible makes more sense when you look at it that way. And it doesn't, I'm not saying that there is no God. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to take away anybody's faith. But I am saying that that book, at least the Old Testament, is not about God. It's about our ancestors trying to tell us what it was like to share the planet with these beings, the Elohim, the Anunnaki, and what that was like. That's the way I look at it. And if you look at some of the translations, it's there. They're talking about things that fly. If you look at the Hopi culture, or you look at the Star People, in Native culture. If you look at in the Nordic culture, Odin and these beings are coming from the sky. Was everybody lying? Is everybody mass hallucinating? And so all the cultures on the planet have a memory of the origins of their culture, and it's always these beings coming down, teaching us, some of them wanting to control us,
Yeah.
but starting civilization, teaching us teaching us how to make beer, teaching us about medicine and astrology and the Book of Enoch. They talk about that, and so we weren't, humanity is not monotheistic. That was something that was written in. The people believed in a plurality of gods. When monotheism comes in and around in tradition, 5th or 6th century, they rewrite the scriptures so Yahweh is the only God.
Mm-hmm.
That is manufactured. When they talk about the Elohim, which is plural, they're talking about more than one God. Now, you could have, there's a whole bunch of these beings. I got the reptilian, I got the praying mantis, so I know they're out there, but I think I'm going to stick with the grays. So, yeah, our ancestors did that, but monotheism came in. All of that was wiped out. There's one God. There's one high priest. There's one temple. Why? Because it's easier to govern people that way.
Yeah.
It's easier to control people. We'll tell you what's fake news. We'll tell you. You don't tell us. And that's that hierarchy. There's God, then there's the king or the president or the high priest, and then underneath of them, then you have the priest or the governors and all, and you got that hierarchy. And that was set up by our visitors. We were invaded. Now, people don't like that word, but that's what it was. And so we were invaded. Now, you can call it an intervention, a rose by any other name. You say tomato, I say tomato. And you got the Hindus. They talk about the flying machines, the Vimanas.
Yeah.
And they don't have a problem with having more than one God. They don't have that. The Mesopotamians, the Akkadians, okay? The Sumerians, they don't have a problem with all these gods. But Judeo-Christianity says, no. We can't, we can't do that.
But didn't it start really in Egypt with, was it Tutankhamun who said we had one God, which was Ra? And
what's his name? Yeah.
Which king it was. I thought it was Tutankhamun, but it might have been a different.
No, it was his father.
It was
I forget his father's name. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
he tried to do that. He tried to say one God.
Right.
But then Moses, some people say he was Moses, but that's how we got this monotheism, from the mistranslations and the rewriting of the Bible. And I want to be clear again to people. I'm not saying that there is no source. I'm not saying that at all. As a matter of fact, when people say to me, can I still be a Christian and believe in a populated universe, extraterrestrials? I say, hell yeah. Our ancestors did. The thing is, if I tell you that I saw an extraterrestrial, you want to medicate me. You want to lock me up. But if I say I saw an angel, oh my God, that's a miracle.
Yeah.
What? So if you are a Christian and you believe in these beings, you have to say you're believing in extraterrestrial life. Angel is a weird kind of word, angelos in Greek, malek in Hebrew. See, angel is tricky because angel doesn't tell you who these beings are. They just tell you what they do. They bring a message. They're a diplomat. I'm a messenger. But they're not telling you what they do, so they don't tell you where they're from. All we know is that if you look at the Bible, some of them eat. Some of them
Yes,
have sex.
right.
Some of them have sex. They eat. They drink. So that means they are flesh and blood like us. It's not these little wispy kind of ethereal. These are beings. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that angels have wings. I don't say they don't. I'm just saying that they don't say that in the Bible. I think our ancestors put wings on them to let
Yeah.
us know they could fly.
It's so difficult for us humans because I saw a video clip yesterday of an ET whistleblower. He worked for the military, and they were asking him if he could say one thing to humanity before he leaves the earth, like hypothetically, what would it be? And he said three very poignant things. He said, number one, we're being lied to. Everything that you're being told is a lie. They're not divulging the truth about humanity and our purpose here on earth.
Mhm.
And that there is a God. I mean, he was so emphatic about saying that. God is real, he said. So, and I can't wait to watch the rest of the interview because it was just like a little snippet from there. But why do you think, biblically speaking, the Old Testament has this angry, punishing God depicted, and the New Testament is absolutely different from that? It's a loving, God sent his son Jesus to die for us. Like, why the dichotomy?
Because Yahweh is not God. Yahweh is an extraterrestrial, or at least a being who has the capability of. And you can tell he's not God because what kind of God wants you to kill men, women, and children and
Exactly.
babies? What kind of God is angry all the time? What kind of God is willing to commit genocide? What kind of God is worried about whether you're circumcised or not? What kind of God
Exactly.
is worried about if you intermarry? But to our ancestors, they were godlike because of the technology.
So do you think they just didn't have the verbiage to use to describe what these beings look like?
No,
So
they had the verbiage. If you read the Bible, they tell you in their language what they saw. They had the verbiage. It's just that it's different verbiage now.
right,
Because we would say, oh, that sounds like a UAP. They're saying it's a
right,
flying chariot.
right.
That, that person is a titan in Greek. Here we say it's a hybrid. Okay? So they had the language. It's just that we have to go back to what they were talking about.
Right, right.
You know?
So of
And
course,
that's it.
yeah. I mean, if they saw a helicopter, they would describe it the best way that they possibly could.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. And examples of that are in the book of Ezekiel and the book of Elijah when they're trying to tell you, there was a whirlwind that came out of the east, and I saw this bronze, in the verbiage of their day. And they may have thought it was the Holy Spirit. Like when he's saying, I was taken up in the Spirit, and the hand of the Lord was upon me, and I felt pressed down. Okay, he's trying to describe what gravity feels like when it's holding you down.
Right, right, right.
But he can only use the language of his day.
Yes, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I find it troubling that, and I've interviewed some guests that are of the ilk that say that these ETs, these extraterrestrials, are truly demonic,
Hmm.
disguising themselves as angelic beings,
Hmm.
and that these, you have Chris Bledsoe with his orbs, and
Hmm.
they're saying that these orbs are they're deceptive. They're really parasitic. They're getting you to see them the way they want you to see them, so that you build a trust, and then
Hmm.
they have you do evil, wicked things. And
Hmm.
I see a lot more people talking about this topic, that, you
Mm-hmm.
need to be careful, that these ETs are really demonic.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think there's such an influx of this
Well,
happening?
listen, aren't there people like that?
Yeah.
Aren't there people who present themselves to you in a different way because they want something or then that's no different from us. I do not say that all of them are demonic, but I'm also not as, I don't come from the perspective, like, for instance, from Brother Greer, who
Yeah.
thinks that they're all sweetness and light. No. But I think that we need to get it in our minds that just because someone has more technology than you, that they may always mean you well. Now, going back to what you asked, there is a great deal of ontological shock, especially from religious people and clergy, because it's hard to wrap your mind around. Everything you were told may not be true. When we look at the book of Genesis, when we look at the Mesopotamian text, we are told that these beings created us.
Mm-hmm.
We are told that. And so if then you flip out. What? No, I can't accept that. No, God created us. And no one's saying that that doesn't exist. We're just telling you what's written there if you read the translations or have someone to help you with that. So
Right.
I don't feel that it's just people's fear. And if you look in the Bible, some of these beings were helpful. Some of them weren't. You know, the man, the angel who helps Daniel in the lion's den. I'm sure Daniel was happy about that.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
when Peter is in Acts and they get him out of prison, you see. But we also know that Yahweh and some of his minions, they were not really happy people, and they just were very warlike and that kind of thing. And I think that's part of the shock,
Yeah.
that we're talking about love and forgiveness and compassion, which are important things. But a lot of these beings weren't about that. They were about, I am your God. This is my territory. You will do what I say. That's what some of these beings were about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes
that's what this is about.
How were you able to differentiate between, like, a visionary experience or a divine encounter and what you would interpret as potential ET interaction in the Bible? Like, how were you able to muck through all of that and know what was, angelic, truly angelic, or ET?
Well, to me, it's all ET.
It's
To me,
all ET.
it's all ET. I would argue that everywhere you put the word, everywhere you see angel, put ET there, and the
No.
Bible makes more sense. Makes
Do
more
you
sense.
think that we have angel guides and spirit guides, or are these ET as well?
I think they're all of the above. I think they're all of the above. I mean, they're beings who know how to get to you who don't need a ship. What does God need with a starship?
Right.
They're energy based beings. They're called the archons in the Gnostic
Mhm.
Gospels. These beings, they get here in a ship. Some of these beings are pure energy. The universe is teeming with life.
Mm.
It's around us now,
Yeah.
vibrating, at a different measure. So we're surrounded by it. We're surrounded by it. And so the only way you can know that I know of, I mean, I've had some beings visit me, and I don't know if they were ET or not, but I could tell by how I felt that there was they weren't the friendliest people. Let's put it like that. But you know people like that.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
and you can also know by how your life is. By their fruits you shall know them. So all you have to do is go by how I know people who are hateful, but every Wednesday night they're at Bible study.
Mm.
They're in the mosque on Friday. They're in the temple of the Hebrew on Saturday. They're in church on Sunday. And they can do all the right things. But I know what you believe by how you treat me.
Exactly.
You can tell me about your Bible study and blah, 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 but I'll watch how you live. I'll watch how you treat people.
Absolutely.
Then I'll know what you really believe. That's how I roll with it.
I mean, I've even raised my children with that principle that it's not your words that matter, but your actions. You know, you could tell somebody you love them all day, but how do you show that love to that person? You know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be grand gestures. It can be, you know, whatever you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's absolutely the truth. Absolutely true. So in the book of Ezekiel, we all know that there's a lot of UFO like literature in there. How do you interpret that wheel within a wheel? What is that called again? I always forget the name. The wheel within the wheel with the eye in the center.
Well, that's a depiction, but he's trying to tell you that it was spinning.
Yes.
That's I mean, and some people call it the Merkaba.
Yeah, the Merkaba. That's it.
But he's telling you that a craft comes down, picks me up, takes me to another place. I get out, I talk to people. You don't have to read Hebrew to go, boy, that sounds like a craft. It's right there if you're willing to see it. And so there's another scholar who talks about what he does is he says, I pretend that everything in the Bible is true. He says, they're words that I don't translate because sometimes we don't know the translation of the word, but you know how you use the word in a sentence. But he's telling you. And there's a wonderful book by Joseph Blumrich. He's passed away. He was a NASA scientist. It's called The Spaceships of Ezekiel.
Yeah.
And he took the metrics from the book of Ezekiel and he drew what he thinks Ezekiel saw. It's a patent on it. Now, if this was God, why would someone have a patent on God? NASA has a patent on this.
Wow.
Since 1974. 74, 77. So you just have to go back and look at this. And so what's happening now, the drones, the stuff in the sky, this has been going on since human beings have been on the planet. And we're acting like this is something new. You know, these drones and these things in the sky, they used to call them Foo Fighters back in World War II. It's here now. And the government was lying back then.
Why do you think the Catholic Church doesn't recognize, you know, a lot of what you've written about?
They recognize it. They recognize it. They do recognize it. Back in 2009, there was an encyclical, Benedict the 16th, was it? Yeah, very conservative. He came out in 2009 and said Yahweh is not the name for God. He also came out and said that we should not be surprised if there are extraterrestrials in the Bible.
Yeah, I've heard that. But do they believe in like the book of Ezekiel that he
Of course they do. Of course they do.
They do. Because
of course they do.
I never heard a priest or anybody admit.
Well, not at that level. They're not at that level. They're not going to say that. They're going to. What are they going to do? Divide their church? But if Monsignor Balladucci, who used to be the Vatican, one of the Vatican exorcists, he came out and said it. He can't say that unless the Pope says you can say it, right? Absolutely. He can't come out and say that. If Father, what's his Munez, he's a Vatican astronomer. He's a Jesuit. If he comes out and says it, he's getting permission from the Vatican.
Yeah.
But they're not going to start a mass panic, but they are very aware that we are not alone. Otherwise, they couldn't make these statements.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think the Pope that just passed away, or maybe the one before him, did say that if there are such thing as ET, that they were God's creation, and
Yes,
that they
both of them
well,
said it.
yeah. So
Francis said it.
Francis said it right. Do
Yeah.
you think that like we're done with the ruling paradigm, like as Galileo himself did, that we're done with the deception and hidden agendas of the past? Like, how do
No,
you?
no, we're not. That's why you and I are having this conversation.
True.
Yeah, yeah. That's why people are asking for disclosure because because we're being deceived. Yeah, yeah. So no, we're not done with it.
And
We
I
may not
always
ever be done with it.
true. I always ask of a guest who's in the same like genre as you, what does disclosure look like to you?
It's
If you could,
already happening.
it's happening. Okay.
Yeah, we're in disclosure. If you're waiting, and maybe it will happen, but if you're waiting for a president to come out on the lawn and say,
Yeah.
guess what, guys, we've lied to you for 90 years.
Yeah.
Some people have lost their lives, but we had to do what we felt was right.
Right. Right.
We've signed some treaties with some people. We didn't ask you. We violated the Constitution. No one's going to do that. And people who think that are, I don't know, what are you thinking? But now that we have hearings, people don't laugh as much when people talk about this now. It's common knowledge. This is disclosure. It's just a teaspoon at a time.
Yeah.
When they tell you our tax dollars are going to study, I mean, what more do you want?
Right. Yeah. Has your work been accepted by like the Catholic Church? Anybody you spoke to that has read it or given you any feedback on it?
No, but I know enough to know that there are people who agree with it, but they can't come out and say it because they will lose their jobs.
Right.
Some of them will lose their tenure, especially if in academic circles. So people will say, yeah, I believe that. Because, and the reason why I'm emphasizing that is because everybody who's not, it's not a big, there's conspiracies, no question, but everybody's not. And Michael, I agree with you, man. I got a family.
Right.
I can't come out and say that, but I'm cheering you on, that kind of thing.
Yeah. You would think, well, I think people are more open to the whole topic because it's, we've had congressional hearings and people, I think, are definitely more.
Yes.
So I don't think you would get that you're crazy kind of look. Maybe some doubt, absolutely. But I think it's being more widely accepted.
Yes, it is, but that doesn't mean you risk your career for it.
True. Very true. I don't think I would.
I don't blame people. I don't blame.
So do you think, do you believe in a monotheistic God, or do you, like that a God created us and all of these extraterrestrials? Like somebody had to be responsible, because it just amazes me how science will, like if you look at the Big Bang, right? And then they have a wonderful paradigm for explaining everything after that. Like everything that took place, string theory, quantum theory, the whole thing. But yet the Big Bang itself is a miraculous event. Somebody had to start it. It couldn't have just happened on its own accord, right? Like
I'm not a physicist, so I can't get into all of that. I do not believe, I'm not a monotheistic God in the sense of there's a man up in the sky judging me. I believe, like Plato's, I believe, yeah, but I don't know what that really means. I can't, fathom that.
Yeah.
I do believe that we come from a source, this energy, this intelligence. Plato talks about it, a fractalized universe. If you go back further in time, you can get to a place where there is no time. And he was saying this 2,500 years before Jesus, and that we are souls that come. I can go there, but the other intricacies of the universe I can't explain. And I'm a human being. Now maybe if I'm outside of my body, I could. But but there are verses that say that these beings created us. That's two things can be true at the same time, and that doesn't mean that there is no a source. I do not believe in a God who judges or is, who
Right.
punishes. I don't believe in a God. And I don't even like to use the word God that much because all the baggage it has, but we're using it. Um, but it's not an anthropomorphic arms, legs, hand. No,
Right.
it's a mystery, and I can live with mystery. Our Native American brothers, the Sioux, they talk about Wankatonkin, the great mystery. It's only Western culture that has to have a certainty, and you can't. But I know that I believe in something greater than myself, and that I will return to that sometime. And that's kind of all I need to. It comes in different names from different people, and that's all I need to live the life that I want to lead. I was reading something Ram Dass said. Um, he said it doesn't matter if it's the first day of the apocalypse or the first day of the age of Aquarius. Your mission is the same: to grow and evolve and to alleviate suffering.
Hmm.
So the other stuff I don't really worry about. I'll find out or I'll remember it when the time comes.
So, what do you think about NDEs, near death experiences? I've interviewed a lot of people that have had profound
Yeah.
NDEs.
Yeah, and yeah, well, to me they're like, I think Raymond Moody, when he wrote a book called Dancing Toward Omega, where he compares NDEs to UFO experiences. And yeah, there's the thing is that how do you live afterwards? That's the transformative part. How do you live afterwards? And some people have chased money all their lives, and after they have the NDE or the UFO experience, you can have it during sex. That's what tantric sex is about. You can
Oh,
have
yeah.
these high spiritual experiences, and they transform you, where the illusion is gone. You start to see things the way they really are. So there's more than one way to get there. You get there in meditation. I know
Oh, yeah.
someone who had a mystical experience while they were jogging in San Francisco one morning, and they were just jogging, and they said, I can't explain it, but for like a few minutes I was one with everything, the ocean there. And they're transformative, and you live your life different after that.
Yes, you do. Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. And it's sad in a way because I mean, I had one when I was 16. I was reading Buck's book, Cosmic Consciousness, and I was only 16. I knew nothing of the world really. I was just exploring and trying to figure things out. And I had a very profound experience like that where I was literally lifted out of my body,
Yeah,
and it lasted for seconds, and I kept trying to reread the same paragraph thinking I could recapture it, but it never came back.
right.
And I wouldn't tell a soul because they would think I was cuckoo and put me away somewhere. It
There it
took me
is.
decades to be able to talk about a simple, beautiful moment that I
Yes.
that I had, an epiphany, whatever. It was definitely a magical where I was like one with the universe. It
Yeah.
was, and I still remember it decades later, But yeah, I totally agree with that. So people that have had NDEs, and do you think it was like personalized according to their beliefs? Because sometimes they would see Jesus and communicate with Jesus.
Yeah.
Other times it would
Uh-huh.
it would would be different. All of them are different, but have similar
Yes.
similar.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show you how powerful someone's faith tradition is, because yes, and there were studies that show if you were Christian, you see Jesus. If you were
Right,
Buddhist, you see Buddha.
right.
If you were a Muslim, you see Muhammad. If you were an atheist, you just see this bright light and this loving feeling and this loving being. So it goes to show you how that influences our reality.
Absolutely. And you're right. They were there. Most of the people, I think all of them, have been, completely transformed after their NDE. Their whole life changed in every way. Even the few that have had negative NDE experiences, like scary ones, because there are those too. So, When was the last time you had an experience with an extraterrestrial? How long ago?
2019, coming back from uh, uh, Nashville. Was it Nashville? Yeah, coming back from a UFO conference in Nashville. Yeah, Tennessee. Tennessee. That's where I saw the praying mantis. I was and I had never seen a praying mantis before. It was memorable. Um, I took my car and I drove the 2 hours. It wasn't Nashville, Knoxville.
Knoxville.
I drove the 2 hours, and I'd really never done that before. I just drove, and this was before GPS because, well, I had a little, because I don't like to get lost, that kind of, I went, and it was memorable in a lot of ways. There was a black gay woman and her partner who put this on in Knoxville, University of Knoxville.
Wow.
And I it was just they just treated me so well, and I met a lot of people, and I was selling my books at a table, and so I go home, and I get a call from a lady I met there, and she said, "I bought your books, I bought your CD, I love it." And she said, "But I want you to meet somebody. Is it okay if I give them your phone number?" I said, "Well, you know, maybe you give me their number." And she said, "Well, they're right here." I said, "Oh." And we talked. And she said, "I didn't see you. I heard about you." She was a lawyer, Carol Ann. She was a lawyer. I don't know what type of jurisprudence she practiced, but she said, "Can I tell you something?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." She said, "Have you ever seen reptilians before?" I said, "No, no, no. No, no, I don't know. I haven't." And she said, "Well, I'm a psychic and a lawyer." And I was like, "Boy, that's using both hemispheres of the brain."
Right.
And she said, and she laughed. And I said, "What?" And she said, "I see reptilians around. I mean,
Oh
praying
my
mantis around you." And I'm like, "Oh, what? What? You know?" And she said, "Trust me, in about 3 days, you're going to have a visit." I said, "Okay, great. Thank you." And she said, "And I'm buying your books." And I said, "Okay." I was living alone in an apartment about 15 minutes from here because I got divorced and was living a bachelor. But my daughter would stay. And, my brother was murdered, Carol Ann. So,
Oh, good.
he smoked cigarettes, right? And sometimes he would be around me because my house would smell like smoke,
Yeah,
cigarette smoke. So I would go, "Oh, Kevin, you okay? I'm okay. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I love you." Um, so I'm walking around my apartment. This is the next day. I start feeling the hair stand up on my arms and on the back of my neck. And I'm like, "Kevin, come on. I'm going to sleep." But I was like, okay. The next evening, when I come home from work,
Mm.
I'm walking around, and I got to tell you, it was a little strange in my house. I felt like, who is in here? And then I said, "Come on, man. This psychosomatic stuff, leave it alone, Michael." What's she going to say? The third night, I'm lying on my back trying to meditate because I was too lazy. I was tired to get up. I closed my eyes. I'm awake. And I felt the mattress go down. Someone jumped on my bed, and this
Oh,
far from my face was that. And they always do the same trick. You feel the heart attack getting ready to happen, and the and he she they they the molecules, they just go. I mean, this was this far from my face. It was like looking at a bug with arms and legs and
There was no message, no.
no, just showing up. That was the message that it showed up, and I called them.
Oh, your mic went out. Your mic went out. That's okay. We'll get that. Now I can't hear you.
How about now?
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And wow, you know, she was right. And that was in 2019. I think it was early spring, summer. But I'll never forget that. And that was it. No, the only time I would get a message was like early on when the Greys came. They showed me. They showed me a a picture on in my mind's eye. There was a monk
Yeah.
with that bad haircut and the thing with a rope belt, and I thought that that was me. And then they showed me an event where I had a three-piece suit on and I was speaking to a crowd. That actually happened years down the line. Of
Wow.
course they showed me the thunderbolt in the thing. And that was it. The only time they ever spoke to me was when the reptilian came in and touched me and said, "Don't be afraid." And it was a male voice, but his lips didn't move, and I could hear it in my ears. So it was telepathic.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Didn't you have an encounter where they were taking a syringe and then you had to tell them that you were experiencing
Oh,
pain?
you remember that? Yes. Let me go. Do. This was early on. They came in my room, and again, it's the paralyzed. I don't know whether they think I'm going to hit them or whatever, because I've read stuff where people have kind of socked them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I was too scared to even do anything like that. But I was paralyzed. And in my mind's eye, I looked at them and I was so afraid. I closed my eyes. I said, "I'm not going to look. What are you going to do?" In my mind. And they stuck a needle in the back. I was already kind of on my side. I mean, on my back. And I felt the zzz, 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 like this electricity. And they stuck a needle right there where that little hollow back there is. A little
Yeah.
hole where your
Yeah.
neck and your thing. You want to talk about excruciating.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were gone. It hurt so bad. And oh my God. And I was telling a friend of mine about it. And she said, "Michael, you got to start setting some ground rules with these people." She said, "You've got to, they can probably hear you now." And I thought she was nuts. And she said, "No, when you're home alone, you did." And I remember, because my girlfriend came home and she said, "I saw you standing in your shorts yelling up at the ceiling." And she said, "I thought that you had lost your mind." And you were screaming, telling whoever you were talking to. So the next time they came, because remember they're coming full in new moon, I'm paralyzed. I'm on my back. I'm in my bed, and they show me a syringe, and it went in the top of my head, and it was like. It's like when you go give blood and the nurse is so good you don't even feel it going in.
Yeah.
That was like that. I didn't even feel and I thought, I don't know. I thought they listened to me. I thought they said, "Hey, we really messed up last time." It didn't stop them from doing it. So, the obvious question is, what do you think they were doing? I don't know. Someone told me you can hit your pituitary gland by going up back up there. I don't know. But I will tell you what happened from all of these things. My voice had changed, at least to me, because people say, boy, your voice is so soothing, or your voice is, because I was getting a lot of energy here. I could feel it. It's more of a raspy sound, but somehow my voice is soothing to people that I don't remember having that before. The other thing was my nails and my hair grew really, really fast. Now, I used to have really long dreadlocks. I cut them a few months ago. But, physiologically, I need less sleep. I
Wow.
get by on less sleep. And the other thing is with the healing was every time they come, because they vibrate at such a high frequency, that it makes I can't sleep for days afterwards, even though
Jeez.
sometimes I need it. And
Yeah.
so when I was doing the Reiki and doing the healing, that I got the energy, it scared me a little bit because the more energy work I did, the more they would come visit, it felt like. But, and that's when my friend a couple years ago, more than a couple, said, you should stop lying and telling people that's Reiki. She said, I did healing work before you were born. That's from your space friends, isn't it? That's from your friends.
Oh,
But I
wow.
don't care what you call it. I do
Yeah,
it, and
absolutely.
they work through me, and I'm thankful.
Um, do you wish that they would continue to visit you, or do you kind of send out like a vibration that you're done, like you've
No,
had enough?
no, no, they'll visit me. I'm expecting a visit soon. I don't know why. Probably because I'm going through a change of life with, um, no, I love when they come. It's just the suddenness
Yeah, it's
of it
scary.
and the way, yeah. Um, I'm expecting a visit. I know that sounds weird, but in about 3 to 5 years, I'm thinking about doing other things with my life. I've been at that church a long time. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm probably going to do more of the healing practice
Oh, nice.
because I had a healing practice in New York, but I was young then. I'm a little wiser now. And so what I do here in this office, my massage, the Reiki table's there, and this freaks some people out, but most people don't care. There's Jesus over here, and there's Mary Magdalene and the spaceships. They don't mind. But I do a lot of counseling. And so I'm going to paint this room, and there's a new entrance my wife and I put so people can come here, and I'm going to have a healing practice. That's,
Oh, that
again,
sounds lovely.
yeah, yeah. And I do talk therapy, I do pastoral care, but I'll use the energy as well. So I don't know, but I got a feeling before that happens officially, they're probably going to want to check in with me about some things. But I don't know, but I have a feeling. But I also feel too that when our government start talking about religion,
Hmm.
people like me, they're going to want to talk
Yeah.
to keep people from panicking or what have you. And so there are other ministers, I'm sure, maybe undercover, whatever, but I know there are ministers out there who, they may not be as public. But I think when that part of disclosure happens, I'll be able to be of some use.
Oh, that would be phenomenal. I mean, what
Yeah,
do we have? 1.4 Christians, Catholics?
yeah,
And just think of once full disclosure happens, whether they present themselves to us and in that way, or
yep,
a
yep.
lot of people are going to freak out.
Yep,
They,
and they're
a lot
going to
of
need some guidance, and so I welcome that. I want to be of service. So we'll see. Right now, I'm still at the church. Um, I'm going on a sabbatical for 3 months in June 16th, and then
people.
next year I have another 3 month sabbatical. So we'll see what goes on in that time.
Where do you think Jesus fits into this whole ET narrative?
Boy, that's that's a really sensitive topic. I I would think that he was aware of these beings. I would think that. Um, I think that who he called Father was not the ultimate God, the ultimate source, you know, and that's where people would get a little nervous or whatever. I would think that if your mother's human and your father isn't, that may question your humanity. You know, are you fully human? So I think that's a possibility. I also think that, and his father is very different from Yahweh. Because
Hmm.
see, grew up thinking that Yahweh was Jesus' father, but
Yeah.
no, they're two different entities. One is about a more compassionate, holistic kind of view of human life and relationships. And there's also but when the Greek and Roman idea of Jesus and people, he wasn't the first, but people, living a life and dying for their beliefs, and they become a god.
Yeah.
That's in Roman mythology they talk about that. In Greek mythology, that may have been a way of them saying that when the empty tomb is
Yeah.
Jesus is now with the gods. So I think, and I that's all I can really say because it's a matter of faith,
Yes, it
what
really is.
people believe in.
Yep.
But that's where my thinking is now. I tend to lean more towards the possible ET connection, but there are other ways to look at that as well because you have to remember when you read the New Testament, and it's translated in Greek and which is interesting because he spoke Aramaic,
Yeah.
but you have to remember Jesus was a Jewish person.
Yes.
And he was well aware of that history. He was aware of Rome. Rome had taken over the area after Babylon and all these other people had conquered the Jews. And, Paul came along and took his message and said, the message is not just for the Jews, the message is for everybody.
Yes. That's right.
But that may not be what Jesus was thinking at the time. He was trying to liberate his people. So the Christianity, because Jesus was a Jew, he wasn't Christian. The Christianity that we have today, that's Paul's version of Christianity.
But didn't Jesus instruct Paul to build him a church? I
No,
thought that
no, Paul. You're talking about Peter.
Peter.
Yeah, Paul. Well, first of all, we don't know if that's true because Jesus didn't use the word. There were no churches back then. There were synagogues. So,
Yeah.
how would he even use the word church, So those are the things that you have to look at. And Paul never met Jesus. Remember, that was the big argument that he had with Peter and James, Jesus'
Right.
brother, in the book of Acts. They're saying, wait a minute, you don't get it. We know it. We knew him. We walked with him because it was they were Jewish Christians. They were followers of the way. They still
Yep.
had to be circumcised. They still had to eat
Oh,
kosher.
yeah.
Paul comes along and says, I saw him on the road to Damascus, and I got a different message from him. And that was where the tension was. But later in Acts 13, I think, they do come to think that you can be a follower of Jesus. You don't have to be circumcised. We want you, we like you to keep kosher. But so that's different from the message that Jesus
Yes.
was focusing on. So what we have today is Pauline Christianity.
Well, aren't there a lot of Jews for Jesus too? Like I
Yes.
see there's a whole big network of these folks that we have an interesting comment from Timbo. He said his massage teacher did a Reiki demo on him for his class, and he laid face down and heard her exhale. She placed her hands on his lower back and, unbeknownst to him, tiptoed across the room and shouted, "Hey, Tim." I jumped up because I thought she was still touching me. I could still feel her hands on
Yes.
me.
Yes. That happens. Yes.
That's so
Yes.
weird. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had that happen as well.
So that's the energy trail that you're just like leaving on a person, right?
Well, that's the energy that comes through you. Remember, Reiki means universal energy. Rei in Japanese means universal. Ki means energy. Chinese call it chi. People call it the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, and the heat comes out of your hands. And so there are times, I mean, I had someone come here the other day and they said, Michael, when you were working on my head, I felt people's hands on my torso and legs. So
Wow.
you have other people there, you have guides. But yeah, I'm familiar with that kind of reaction.
Yeah. I remember when my husband, God rest his soul, he's passed now for 3 years plus, he was getting Reiki in the hospital, and he was never a believer in any of that like woo-woo stuff. And when the two girls came in and did Reiki on him, he said he felt, something like he couldn't describe it. And this is from a non-believer. So after that, I really, it kind of impressed upon me that Reiki is legit. I've never had it done, but I would love to have a session of it for sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So imagine that energy,
Yep.
and imagine it now. I've got the extraterrestrial energy on top of that.
Wow. What do people say it feels like that's different than traditional Reiki?
Um,
They describe it?
no, they will just say when I felt like I was levitating.
Oh, wow.
Um, I felt like your hands were inside touching my organs.
Ooh.
Um, some people said I left my body and watched you do it. Some people just go to sleep and start snoring. And what's so beautiful about Reiki is that you don't have to believe in God or anything. We're talking energy here, so there's a
Exactly.
science. And so you don't have to get in the way of all of that. And
Yeah,
you
well,
don't have that in the way. Yeah.
which is nice. And, everything is energy, vibration. So
There it
have you,
is.
have you ever checked yourself physiologically to see if you had any implants?
No, I sometimes I got like bumps or something that are under my skin, and it feels fatty. I don't know what it is, but I feel like if I do, they find me wherever I am. When I was in Boston, when I moved from downtown up to Spanish Harlem, when I lived in New York, they find me. Now they can do that many ways, but I wouldn't be surprised if I did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. And I heard they could float around too. Like they never stay in
Yeah,
one spot.
I've heard
Um,
that too.
yeah, which is really interesting. What do you think the difference is? Because Preston has a theory about it too. Why some people get visited and others don't. Usually, he says, I think in his book, and we've talked about, a traumatic event can spark, a meeting where something traumatic can happen in your life, and then all of a sudden, ET will start visiting you. What do you think is the discerning thing between people that have had visitations and have not? Do you think they're just closed off to it
No,
completely, or
no,
what?
I don't know. I don't think there's a formula. I think some people get visited and some people don't.
So it's just like
Uh,
random.
Um, to me, it could be random. To them, maybe it's something else. I tend not to say people are closed off because why would you blame someone? Just because you've had a visit doesn't mean you're really special. It just means you've had a visit. And so that's the ego. And so someone who doesn't have a visit doesn't mean it's just how it happens. Now, um, maybe the star people have a thing. I know people have asked me that, and I don't know. I've had psychics tell me that I've been with them in other lifetimes, and
Mm,
so this is just a continuation. but I don't want to give it a formula. I've had people who just, they're not into any of this, and they have some type of
Yeah,
experience. And
yeah, I've heard of
the
many.
thing is that you don't want to start thinking, well, I'm special because I've had it, and you haven't, because
Yeah, there is
that's
that
not what it's
ego.
about.
There's a bit of that ego thing out there where people will, even with seeing orbs, like, because now they're using, like, what's it called, psionics, to communicate with orbs and stuff. And I've had interviewed some people who like just went out to walk their dog, and they were able to see orbs and took video of it, and they go around touting that like it's this big great accomplishment. I don't know, it seems to
Yeah,
be.
for me, my spiritual growth is from this. I don't need to do parlor tricks and,
Yeah,
it's not, it's they come and they've come, and when they need to come, they'll come again. In the meantime, I'm not doing it for a high or for a sensation or
sure.
to say, look at me. It's part of my life, and I've integrated it well. And because I think part of one's spiritual growth is your intentionality.
Oh yeah.
Why do you want them to come? Is just to make you feel special? Do you really want to change? Do you really? And so when people do that, and that's fine, but it's like a parlor trick. I can make this happen, and that's just not what I'm about.
Yeah, thankfully most of us can see through that too. We kind of can tell, whether somebody is legit or not. Like you look at somebody like Preston and Dolly, and you can tell. And she's had visitation since she's a
Mhm.
toddler. So
Well,
I'm sure.
so many people have,
Yeah,
and we're realizing that it's really just part of life. And it's new. But this is, again, you look at the Bible, these people are having these things happen to them. And what do? They go on with their life. People have babies. People make dinner.
yeah,
People go to work.
right.
People do. Yeah, yeah. After a while, you just kind of, it's part of being on the planet.
Absolutely. Have you had OBEs, your out of body experiences?
Yes, yes, I
What
have.
were they like for you?
They were scary for me because they were unexpected, and you're like, am I going to go back in my body?
Hmm.
Am I dead? Am I going to be dead? But I also realized that was a way for these beings to contact me too. They
Yeah.
could take me out of the body. Probably easier for them. They don't have to deal with my fear and the
Yeah.
whole thing. So yeah, I've had OBEs.
Do you still have them, or?
I haven't had any that I know of, not unless I'm in my sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh my goodness. I don't know. And the thing with reincarnation too, that's like a tough one, because I hear a lot of folks saying that the light is a trap, and that if you see the light when you pass, not to go into it, because that will guarantee the reincarnation coming back here again.
Hmm.
And instead of, I guess, moving upward and onward to your true destiny, it kind of keeps you in that loop. I don't know. How
Hmm.
do you feel about the whole reincarnation thing?
Well, I believe in reincarnation, and I've heard that theory, but I don't worry about that. That'll take care of itself. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get my daughter through college, Carol Ann. I can't be worried about that kind of stuff.
I know. I hear you.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? It is what it is,
it is. It is.
Yeah. If you
Always.
die and you can remember when you die, if you can remember, oh, that's right, I heard that thing on Carol Ann's show. I shouldn't go to that light. All
Right.
power to you. In the meantime, it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. I mean, I don't put too much weight onto those things when I hear them, but it's interesting because all of a sudden you'll hear like an influx of people talking about it.
No question. And I don't want to poo poo it. It's just that, so what are you going to do? There's so many other things to worry about. Well,
Yeah,
and you don't want to worry, but there's so many other things going on. When I'll cross that bridge, believe me, when it
yeah,
happens.
yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I'm such a big proponent of the power of now. Eckhart Tolle wrote that book years ago, and it impacted me in such a great way because it's so very true. All we have is this very now moment, and what's behind us just memories, and what's ahead of us is uncertain, obviously. So, we do have to live in this now moment and be grateful for every second of it. Especially if we've experienced a tragedy in life that has kind of opened us up to our true nature and understanding our spirituality. There seems to be a big influx of that, where people are becoming more and more like aware and enlightened. What do you think that's from? What do you because it's apparent. It's all over social media. I mean, you see it. What do you think is accounting for that?
I think human evolution,
Yeah.
that we are growing, and consciousness is changing, and it takes time. It's very glacial. What helps me to remember, that keeps me balanced, is I don't have to know everything.
Mm,
I don't have to be right. But we had Hurricane Helene here,
yeah.
and it hit pretty hard. I live in North Carolina now. And there was loss of life, homes destroyed, flooding, the usual. And then there's been rebuilding, acts of heroism, people coming together, putting aside red, blue, black, white,
Oh,
whatever. And I just try to remember that this has happened all through history. There have been pole shifts. There have been floods. There have been, tectonic movement. There's been wars. There's been all this stuff. And this is what human beings do. Sometimes we get, as a species, when it's happening to us, it's like a really, 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 really big deal. And it is at the time, but this has been happening for millennia. And people rebuild, and you go on. And I think that keeps me grounded, because nothing that's happened here has not happened before.
true.
And
Gosh, that's
it's just, now we may blow ourselves up, but if you
yeah.
go back far enough into literature and alternative literature, we've probably done this before. And when you look at extraterrestrials, you read some of the literature, some of them come back and say, we were on the path that you're on now, and we're trying to get you to see that that's not the path you want to be on. So, I just try to keep a level head about stuff. Don't worry about stuff I can't control. There's a lot of information out there, but I'm going to be 68 this year. I don't need any more information. I need wisdom.
Yeah.
And we mistake the two. People mistake information for wisdom. Now, it can be, if it's applied and it works, it can be wisdom, but I don't need any more. So, if I go to the light, or if I don't go to the light, if I remember, maybe I'll say, well, maybe I should, but I'm not going to worry about that now. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I'm just trying to get my daughter through college. I'm trying to help my neighbor. I'm trying to live a good life. That's
Yeah.
what you're here to do.
Yeah.
Remember
Exactly.
Ram Dass, right? Whether it's the last day of the first day of the apocalypse, or the first day of the new age, your mission is the same: to continue to grow and evolve, and to alleviate suffering.
Yeah.
It's real
You, you
simple.
know, that's the gospel truth, because I think a lot of people think that they're going to get enlightened by doom scrolling through Instagram and listening to all of these people with their philosophical and beliefs or whatever to enlighten you and lift your consciousness. And people crave that, and I get it, because I can get wrapped up in doing that myself, and I have to go like, all right, it's been 10 minutes. I'm done. I'm done scrolling. But there are some profound statements and things that can bring enlightenment and wisdom into you, make you think about things and question
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But so
Like,
what? I saw the most powerful meme I saw on Facebook was this: Don't forget, you have to do the footwork, not just read the memes.
That's right. And that's the truth. Yeah, because people want the shortcut. They want the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
They just, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's
And that's why most people don't follow a spiritual path. Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that they're bad people.
No,
It doesn't mean any of that. But it does mean, you know why people don't do it? Because it's hard work. It's
it is hard.
it's looking at yourself, warts and all. It's looking at the world the way it really is as the way you want it to be. That's hard work because you have to grow up and realize that everybody's not going to like you, that somewhere along the line you're going to lose your loved ones, they're going to lose you. I mean, these are the things of life.
Absolutely.
You can't change people, you can only change yourself. And a lot of people they don't want to hear that message. And I get it. And that's why people don't. But eventually, whether it's this lifetime, the next lifetime, or whatever, that evolution will start to happen. And just like it happened with me, and there are people above me, more evolved. I'm not saying, but that's why people don't want to do the work, because it's hard work. And I get it. And
Yeah.
so, but you want to look, after a while, you want to go, what's worth worrying about and what isn't?
Yeah.
I'll be dead in 30 years, maybe before. That's if I live to be 100. So whatever I'm going to do, I need to do now. But I also need to go, hey, why am I worried about that? I can't do anything about that. I can do something about this. Why am I worried about so-and-so who doesn't like me? Why am I worried? Because remember, this is a cycle, and it's all happened before.
I totally agree with that. Even if you look back at like Tartaria, right? And the whole mud flood thing, there are buildings buried underneath layers of mud, and we have photograph proof of this. So obviously something took place where there was a flood and everything was buried and they just rebuilt on top of it.
And guess what? One day we're going to be buried in mud.
That's correct.
Someone will come to discover us. So, I mean, what's a better use of your time?
Yeah.
And part of spirituality is how you use your time.
Yeah.
How do you manage time? Yes. We can say time doesn't exist. Yeah, on that fundamental level, it doesn't. But do I worry about, am I going to go to the light and come back again?
I know.
Or do I worry about, well, hopefully you don't want to worry about anything. Or do I say, how can I live the moment that I have? Do I need to forgive somebody that I haven't? Do I need to love? That's what we're here to do. But that's wisdom. That's not information.
Right. That's true. Where do you get your wisdom from these days? Just books or just inspiration?
My life experience.
Yeah.
At this, yes, I love to read, but I realize that when I read, I'm also getting, information that's already been passed down. I get reminded, and I'm not knocking that, but most of the stuff I say, I've done that before, and I know where that leads. And also knowing that I don't know, that I don't know everything. That's the beginning of wisdom. So, but I like to read. I talk, I read, I speak. I love all that. But I also know that some of the things I already know, and because there's an old Hindu Vedic saying, there's knowledge that you learn, and then there's knowledge that you become.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah. There's knowledge that you learn, just like there's the old saying, knowledge is learning something new every day. Wisdom is letting something go every day.
Yeah, that's so true. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about folks our age is that, we can get to that point where we feel a little confident about life and the experiences we've had here. And that part of our ego, kind of dissipates. So we don't have, like you said before, we don't have that need to prove anything or do parlor tricks for anybody. it's like we're real. It's just, this is what, doesn't mean we stop learning and stop.
Right.
Right.
You're comfortable with yourself. And so, because I got tons of books and I love to read and I use them in my sermons and all that. But again, there comes a time where everything that these books are telling you, you already know. And like you said, it doesn't mean you stop learning, but now you go out and you do it.
Absolutely.
I don't have to go, oh, I need to love my neighbor as myself. I need to do it.
Right.
I don't have to be reminded, oh, what goes around comes around. I need to be aware of that in the way my intentionality in my life. So that's the knowledge that you become.
Do you believe that we get a life review at the end of days? Because a lot of people that have had NDEs, that seemed to be the one very profound thing that has happened to them.
Sure. I believe that. I mean, I think all these people that, these case studies have that in common. I just would be very, very, very clear that doesn't mean it's judgment, but you're not being judged because.
Yeah, I think it was more of a review.
Well, yeah, because some people do mix that up with judgment. Okay, I did something bad here, and now got. Yeah, it's just because it's its own reward. What you did, you learned. That's your lesson. I could have handled that differently. But yes, I that seems to be something that's consistent. A review.
That's an excellent distinction you made. Because you're right, it's not really a judgment. No. The people that I've spoken to have said they were shown like hurtful things that they've done to people, and they were allowed to feel their pain so that they would know.
Yeah, it's a lesson.
Yes,
it's a lesson. Yeah,
exactly. It was a lesson. So not a judgment, but a lesson. Gee, Michael, I had such a blast talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
A wise, sage individual.
Oh,
and I thoroughly loved your book, and I want to show folks your website, because people forget how hard people work on things like websites, and I always try to encourage that. Let me add that to the stage. So here's your website, and let's see, you have, where are your books? Under store?
If you scroll down, there they are.
Yeah. Okay, so here are your many books that you've written. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to get some of these books.
I think you'll enjoy them.
Oh goodness. God,
and if people want, I think you'll enjoy them. That's a 30-day meditation manual. The metaphysics of, and I use, whether it's someone's a secular or religious, there's an affirmation from someone for every day. A New World, if you can take it, is kind of part 2 to Alien Scriptures. Initiation is a handbook for experiencers, for people who either think they're an experiencer and not sure, or they know someone who is.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I'm big into prayer and the metaphysics, but not the, oh, please God help me with this, please God help me with that. It's called affirming prayer. And the last book I wrote last year, Enlightenment, it's a book of sermons from my church. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and people can go on and they can write me. They can set up Reiki or distant healing. I do that.
Here's your counseling.
Yes.
Oh, what a lovely picture of you. Okay, so here people would fill out the form and they can reach you that way.
Yes.
So, I really, like to encourage folks to visit your website. And
and it's new, so thank you for doing that. I've only had it for about 3 months. I know we're winding down. I'm just thinking of something else. I will. I don't know that it's coming. I was supposed to come out in March, but I have an episode of Ancient Aliens coming up, and I will be talking. They're interviewing experiencers, and so I will. Thank you, Heidi. And they will be the things we talked about. They'll be talking about them on the show.
Oh, you'll have to.
I'll email you.
Yeah, email me, because I would love to shout that out for you.
Yes, yeah.
Social media. And Yeah, I'm gonna, say goodbye to you shortly because of the tech problems. I want to make sure that folks who are on Michele's on after. So please stick around because Michele's show is coming up soon. And I just want to say how grateful I am to be able to meet you today and have this wonderful and blessed conversation with you. And Michael, I would love to have you back. Maybe we can.
And anytime, Carol, just call me.
Oh, I would love
I swear, I make the time. As a matter of fact, I'll have more time because I'm going on sabbatical. I texted Michale and told her how lovely you were when we were talking. I mean, my wife's upstairs, so I'm going to go grab a bite to eat. But
Yes.
yeah, we can do something whenever you want. We can talk about another book. We can go into some Bible verses.
Oh, I would love that. I would love to talk about consciousness, like just
Yes.
consciousness in general. I really want to start to focus on that. And you obviously have written some books on it. So
Yeah.
I will be in touch with you via email, okay?
Yeah, you know where to find me.
I know where to get you.
Listen, God bless you and your group, and thank you for making the time. And listen, don't let them take away your joy. Have a wonderful week.
Oh, that was beautifully said. Thank you, Michael. God bless. Love to you.
God bless you.
Speak to you soon, dear.
Yeah, all right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everyone. He is such a joy. It's such a blessing to be able to meet people like him. And I would be remiss if I didn't have one more minute to let Oliver say hello, because he knows when my show ends and he starts punching me because dogs are amazing and they're so intuitive, and he must listen to my dialogue and know when my show is going to end. He starts punching me. So I had to bring him up to say hello. But thank you again so much for joining us today. And of course, you have been listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.FM in beautiful New Orleans. And I could babble on about how awesome this network is. Please support all of our other hosts and guests by subscribing and listening and joining in on the fun. And please do subscribe to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on YouTube or wherever you see us on social media. I would be ever so grateful. So I'm going to go so Michale can line up her show. God bless everyone and good night.